Well, there's certainly a lot of math that's going to have to be done before next week for not only us, but for the teams. They want to know what their win conditions are, or where they can potentially place based on what kind of performances they can give us. Nonetheless, extra maps on the board today for both Sydney Drop Bears or Ground Zero could be helpful in the coming
look, Jordan, they're swapping the goats.
They are swapping the
How
goats.
smart am I? Oh, God, I'm brilliant.
Very smart indeed. It looks to be standard for Ground Zero. Oh, sorry, standard for Sydney Drop Bears, as expected.
Shoyo's holding this pesky angle, which makes Sombra very difficult to get him. He's shooting across all entryways. But Dulcie puts him to sleep. That will help his little mate out. But he chooses not to run through, does he? Oh, he's in.
He's in. It's on like Donkey Kong now, everybody. Ground Zero, well, they're not too keen on committing to it just yet. Mini's shield is probably quite low.
Certainly is a middle charge down on that Sombra, trying to push him away. Will Dreamer drop off the top rope? Dream with the ballerina we saw the other week, and he's chosen to do it again, I think.
Once that Brigade is out of position, Mini decides to push on forward.
He's dropping low.
He is dropping low indeed, but does get healed back on up, and the hack is going to fade fairly shortly. He's doing a great job of putting good pressure on City Drop Bears and building that EMP in the meanwhile.
Needs to be building it though. That needs to be the first fight ultimate online, but it looks like a Kraken's built very fast Transcendence here. Dulcie has the nano boost to match. How is he going to use it to get effectiveness?
Get in there.
Nano boost through from Dulcie. Transcendence in there as well. Then he's trying to chase Dreamer down, and he does manage to catch him. A Kraken nowhere to be seen, helping Dreamer out.
With Dreamer anti-nated, it meant a Kraken's Transcendence means naught. They get another pick. The rally comes out from Winter to try stabilize things, but Shoyo sleeping means that it's down to a 4v6.
Shatter as well for Mini if necessary. It's a Graviton Surge that'll be invested by Sydney Drop Bears. Dreamer's coming back with his Earth Shatter. He's going to get it down. I don't know how many players he actually collected that onto, but it doesn't seem to have made much of a difference to the charge that Ground Zero is putting forward. Down Tsunami, they're the ones doing the damage at this point, and Mini is still hanging on to this shadow, which is going to be very nice heading into the next stage of the map.
Well, it's 2 minutes off the clock, so it's not a bad time defense, but the fact that they invested so many ultimates in there, so many late ultimates too, the rally, the Graviton Surge, even the Earth Shatter, it's questionable, but they will be able to get a fast hold off here, which means they could get 3 defenses on this point. Let's look to see if Dewboy and Mini set up a big fast shatter here. Like an anti-nade on the Pluro early. He wants to pick off and an aggressive self-destruct comes through.
Oh, that's a nice boot. Not sure where it came from, but it does force Mini just to the side, which allows Shoyo to clip Gus.
That will force Ground Zero all the way back to spawn. Dreamer taking a nap, but he will get back up and that won't mean anything. Ground Zero now. They need to get offensive, they need to play fast. They don't want to let Sydney Drop Bears build all their ultimates and they're used on point 1 up again. Already the support ultimates inside of Sydney Drop Bears reappearing, so they will have counterplay to these abilities if they do dodge them. At least you'd hope at least one of these supports dodges the Earth Shatter from Mini if it comes through. Nami gets picked, no.
Not quite. He was trying to get a hack here. Didn't quite managed to do that, but also similarly doesn't get picked off either, so it's about fair as fair. It's a good solid defense though from Sydney Drop Bears. Looked like they were in. Still waiting for that Earth Shatter from Mini, but he hasn't really been able to find an avenue. Now with Dreamer totally isolated, well saved by a Kraken. See that guy just yeeting in there with the Transcendence, helping out his teammate. Now Dreamer's behind. Does get the Shatter down, but it's blocked by Mini's shield, and Ground Zero get their own Shatter down. Looks to be a decent one, however, still a fight persists in the favour of Sydney Drop Bears. Nami, he was going to translate Kate on out, but decides to stick around here, looking to build more of an EMP charge up, and has indeed built it.
The player advantage lies with Ground Zero Gaming and the spawn advantage through the Earth Shadow to steal the fire. The Kraken getting knocked away as he's stunned, but that will lead to his death. But there's so much time bought off the clock here. Well
Cannot be
played.
disappointed by that as Sydney Drop Bears.
No, well played by Sydney Drop Bears to get all that time off the clock. And as Dreamer got isolated, the Kraken does, as you said, he kept hooning on in there to save his boy, but he got breached by a big anti-nade as all the players tried to follow in. So Dulcie getting a nice one, but it didn't end up amounting to anything. Now, how will Ground Zero set up here? Will they go offensive to stop them getting out of the doors? No, they let him through. So the EMP for Nami is going to be instrumental in this fight. There's a lot of architecture to hide behind though if you're Sydney Drop Bears here.
This might actually buy another fight for Sydney Drop Bears, being able to get a good one here, right in the centre of the point. Dreamer does drop early, however, so it's not going to be much of a good fight here. Nami EMPs across, and really doesn't seem to be too much here for Sydney Drop Bears at all.
Fluoro tried to commit the beat offensively after they lost Dreamer, and Nami was there waiting for the EMP straight away. This does mean that there is no Graviton Surge and there is no EMP for this next following fight. So maybe it was a plan from Fluoro all along.
Yeah, it was a bit of not really a throw, I would say, from Sydney Drop Bears, but perhaps a tactical throw in a way. Because they knew that they were going to have time to get another fight here in Phase B.
Well, the problem was that Shoyo got slept, and as soon as Shoyo got slept, they committed the Graviton Surge onto Dreamer, knowing that it couldn't get blocked, and they took him down fast. That led a big advantage.
Dalsu up on the high ground looking for Bio Nades, and he gets one onto Dreamer and Winter, two pretty premium targets, but it fades away fairly quickly, and Sydney Drop Bears with the Transcendence are able to heal back on up very quickly. Grav goes down from Sydney Drop Bears, and that was always how this fight was going to go.
Certainly was. There was no defensive ultimate on the side of Ground Zero Gaming that could keep them alive through that one. Gunther hadn't quite built his EMP up. Oh, he's big drop up.
So EMP for Nami on Ground Zero. What we saw yesterday, that was quite effectively countered by Adam on the Diva with the self-destruct. I wonder if Shoyo's going to be able to do the same in this fight.
Has Shoyo been researching? Has he been doing his study? He's quite a smart player. Very intelligent man. Formerly a coach of the Sydney Drop Bears actually for a brief period of time when Punk was on the team.
Might be the win condition for Sydney Drop Bears here.
I think it's
33 seconds here to hold.
There's a lot of firepower for Ground Zero though. They will be able to use this B-drop offensively in the fight if they need to, as there are no defensive ults. It looks like he's going to try and solo it, being a Kraken maybe.
No, definitely not a solo EMP. He does actually get 3, but self-destruct goes through. Is it going to be good? Well, no damage comes from it for Shoyo. Certainly set it up. Dreamer does put his shadow into the ground, but it puts it straight into the shield of Mini. A 1-for-1 trade so far, but Sydney Drop Bears might have some more legs in this fight with a double support ultimate coming on up. A Kraken has Transcendence. Fluoro has a sound barrier. We just need to see them thrown on in, and here goes that Transcendence. Where do the kills come from? Niang perhaps with the Graviton Surge. He just gets it down as he goes all the way back into the spawn doors, and it is enough for Sydney Drop Bears to hold. That was such a good Bionade from Dalsu to put Niang under pressure, but he just gets the grab out in time, and it's enough for Sydney Drop Bears. Ground Zero, not quite pushed through point B. That was a crazy fight. That would be a great one. I think, you know, if you were someone that sort of liked making videos or something and breaking down fights, that was a good one. There were so many little intricacies that came out.
And that's what you love to see. This is why I love seeing these GOATs versus GOATs compositions so much. We saw it all of last season. Everyone was complaining on Twitter, but I loved it. These fights were big brawls, and the little tiny mistakes or little tiny mistimed ultimate usages mean so much in the grand scheme of things. It's like a battle of chess, except it's chess accelerated.
If Niang dies half a second earlier there, because he was bionaded by Dalsu, so he couldn't get the heals from the Transcendence. If he dies half a second earlier there, Ground Zero pushes through point B because he doesn't get grab off.
Doesn't get grab off, and it allows the team of Ground Zero Gaming to run rampant through the fight, and that's what they needed to do. They needed to be aggressive. When you have this Sombra and you have this Ana, you need to be aggressive. You need to be building those two ults up fast. You need to be using them pretty much on cooldown. There were some good fights there, but the key instrumental thing was the discipline from Sydney Drop Bears. They managed to stall the cart out so long after having a bad first point that they got 3 fights off on Hollywood Phase 2. Now, Hollywood Phase 2 is very long, and you can do that. We've seen teams in the past try to do that, but they've just mis-executed a little bit in their timings. But really well timed from Sydney Drop Bears there to get 3 fights off and 3 good ones.
I just saw peanut butter nachos on the menu in the cinema.
Yeah, that's for Winston.
I don't know if that would taste very nice.
For Winston's it does.
But you're not a Winston smash.
Well, no, but I don't eat peanut butter nachos. I'm not the target demographic there.
How many Winstons are there in the world?
Just one.
Yeah, exactly. How much money are you making on peanut butter nachos then?
He eats a lot. He's a big boy.
Big boy, that's true.
The Sydney Drop Bears have decided for a DPS composition pushing forward here. Will they swap off? Looks like Winter's contemplating it. Yeah, he's gone to a Pharah. Yang's moved over to the Sombra, so they think they can break it this way. It's interesting. Ground Zero have gone the more versatile composition. It is something that can hold against pretty much everything. No Roadhog on the side of Sydney Drop Bears to punish the Winston this time too.
So this would be a very sort of heavy snowball composition for Sydney Drop Bears if they get through point A.
Good tactic taken out instantly.
Yeah, that's a good hack. And Niang reaping the rewards. Now Winter looking to get the DMAC onto Gus to buy him some more freedom, which he has been able to do. And now Dalsu out in no man's land, unless he hits a fantastic sleep dart here. There's probably not much to be said for him. Boy trying to help out. Winter continuing to be completely uncontested.
Dalsu's still alive.
There's no Diva mech available for the Ground Zero guys. It's a good question, I'll be honest. Smash. I wasn't expecting him to survive that long, but has it made much of a difference? Doesn't seem to have.
There's three things now that will survive a nuclear apocalypse.
Yep.
It's cockroaches, tax accountants,
Smash his
and
haircut.
Dal Susanna.
Oh,
Oh, well. No, my haircut would probably perish pretty quickly, actually.
yeah.
But as you
Hopefully.
said, those snowball ultimates are in effect for
Yep.
the side of Sydney Drop Bears. They have the nano boost coming up soon. They have the EMP and the barrage.
They come back
As-
with a vengeance after the half-time.
They certainly have. They're really eating their Weet-Bix in that halftime break. That's what I'd be doing if I had a halftime break.
In this instance, it's probably some chicken nuggies.
Oh, you see, he has need. As the EMP comes out, and now the barrage too.
That's going to be a perfect combo for Sydney Drop Bears, isn't it? Mini drops early, Gus demeched, and then finished off as well. The two ultimates thrown in there by Sydney Drop Bears. Still a little bit more to work with, but this one should be a pretty clean fight. Dalsu does get Shoyo, but actually he gets a Kraken too. Again, the spawn's quite close by for Sydney Drop Bears, so it really shouldn't cost them too much. It does mean it's a bit more difficult to set up forward.
I think that Ground Zero have missed the timing for the 3 fights as well here. They've found that awkward position, so they're going to have to probably rely on 2. And now Sydney Drop Bears still have ultimates coming in here. They have the damage boost ultimates, in fact. All 3 damage amplification ultimates online for the side of the Sydney Drop Bears. They have to survive through this EMP though. That's going to be the instrumental thing. And Nami's been good.
The EMP does only hit Dreamer and Winter. Kraken able to get the nano boost through onto Winter to keep him fairly healthy. And he's diving around in the back line, but not really achieving a whole lot. Splitting quite a few of the Ground Zero members, Sydney Drop Bears members apart. Dalsu hits another Bionade. That actually seems to have turned the fight back around in the favour of Ground Zero. No picks just yet coming across for
EMP barrage coming, though.
Winter. He's got a rocket barrage. Is he going to die? Does actually survive on through somehow. Great heals onto Winter. And that is enough damage now for Sydney Drop Bears to find the advantage here. They'll continue to push on forward. Dalsu gets a good sleep. But now he's going to have to go to sleep himself.
It is going to be a very rushed fight if Ground Zero are to touch here. They're going to be staggering on in very heavily. Have they been able to do it though? I don't see anyone in position. Maybe it's going to be the Jewboy. No, it is Nami.
It has to be Nami because Mini gets shield bashed and slept and dead, and Gus at least able to find one with his own self-destruct, but perhaps it's not going to be enough here. Niang, a good hack across, and now time to just pump some damage into the Ground Zero players. What a... Oh my god. God, it just...
Messy fights, aren't they?
It fell apart really for Ground Zero, didn't it? But it was a great Bionade. That's what I was trying to get out there for a crack. And Sydney Drop Bears have kept themselves alive in the series. They're up to 1 map, still 2-1 down. Still not a great scenario. Still have to make that reverse sweep, but 1 foot forward in front of the other.
Well, that's it. 1 step at a time for the side of the Sydney Drop Bears, and that's a good step to take an emphatic win, actually. Pretty dominating win on Hollywood, as their defense looked pretty solid, and their offense, they had a good idea behind the 3 damage boosting ultimate strategy to rotate with the EMP and the barrage. That's a lot of damage, actually, now you think about it. And that opened up the fights, and you saw in that last fight, despite Dreamer going down super early in the fight, they were managed to live long enough for the EMP and the barrage to come online, and they turned the fight with those 2 ultimates, those 2 high impact ultimates. See the highlights here was a good hold from Sydney Drop Bears on this second phase that really set it up. Having those 3 fights really meant that they could play the way they wanted to on this GOATS composition. We saw the side of Ground Zero unable to get those 3 fights off just because of the way the first point unfolded.
There's timing on the Graviton Surge for Niang in the final fight on the defense for Sydney Drop Bears. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that, but that's really where you start to think, okay, actually, Sydney Drop Bears can now win this match.
Yes.
If they get through for phase C, anything could really happen, but if you're held outside of point B, that's a really achievable target.
Yeah, it certainly is an achievable target, especially if they only get those 2 fights off, as I said before. That when you're playing that close composition, you want to get as many fights in as possible, because you want to charge as many ults up as possible and use as many ults as possible.
Sounds pretty easy.
In theory, it definitely is. It's one of those things, easy to learn, hard to master.
Easy to say, perhaps. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done is also another way to put it.
All right, Havana's going to be the next map here. And it is actually a relevant map, which has been kind of contrary to what we've seen so far this week. At this point, for both series up to now, we've been at a 3-0. We've said, Havana, yeah, it's good for a 4-0. But outside of that, it doesn't really mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of the series. This time, though, if Sydney Drop Bears win here, especially with that momentum that they get on Hollywood, could get a bit interesting.
Yeah, it could be. And Dreamer has shown to play the Orisa a bit more than Mini, and Nyang's Widow has been a factor in this match already. Hasn't been the sharpest as we've seen before, but it could come alive on this map of Havana. Maybe he's warmed up now. That could be the key turning point. Goats could come out from both sides. We have seen that previously as well. But I like the fact that these Orisa comps are going to start coming out. And if Shoyo and Dreamer can start getting those hold hook combinations, we could be going to Ilios. And anything happens on Koth. It is a hard one to call, this one, Jordan.
Gotta remember though, boost time was pretty one-sided. So even if we do get to Ilios, Ground Zero will back themselves to an extent.
Oh, they certainly will, but their momentum would be straight in the Drop Bears court there, as they would have won the previous 2 maps after the break. It would be hard to turn the momentum around too. You really need to slow down once you are getting steamrolled like that. You need to slow down, regroup, rethink, reset mentally. And the young players on the side of Ground Zero Gaming, I'm not sure if they've got the experience to do that just yet.
If memory serves, Ground Zero do have a pretty solid win on Havana. Well, I know that they have a win on Havana. I don't recall exactly who it was against.
I couldn't tell you either, actually, because it was Mindfreak versus Order that week, because the really good play from August came through, so I can't remember actually who won that. Might have to get...
Well, if you know that it was Mindfreak Order...
Oh, you can match it up.
I can match them up. Hang on. So that would have been last week then, what? No.
No. Yeah, it would have been us. Yeah, it was last week.
So it was Ground Zero that lost to Warriors.
So they would have beat... I think they beat Warriors on Havana, did they? Or no, they won the Cloth and lost on the 4th map. So it would have been a loss on that map.
I've got myself so confused now.
So have I, actually. And nobody has responded about that PC1 question yet.
I know, I'm really disappointed.
That's what I'm disappointed in.
Ready for battle.
As we see, Orisa's picked. The horse has been locked in. See, people have been telling me that Orisa is a horse or a buffalo.
It's a horse.
I reckon it's a horse. But then it doesn't fit with the African theme, really, does it?
I suppose.
So some people have been saying buffalo.
Isn't
Well, that's certainly not a buffalo.
she meant to be a horse? I was always under the impression she was a horse.
Yeah, I was too, but I prefer calling it horse. Or cow, but I think it's actually a robot. And not an animal at all.
That is true. That is true. Oh, we'll see an Orisa in a second here. We can deduce.
I don't know, I'm not that good with animals. Identifying them, that is. As we see, an interesting composition coming out. We have the Widowmaker, the Pharah, and the Mei for the side of Ground Zero Gaming. The solo tank Orisa. They're holding very close to it. Kraken's found himself in a rinky-dink position there. He could have got his head taken off if he wasn't careful.
Ooh. Nami's looking for some heads.
Juboy flying high in the sky. Gunther drops very low, but he's managed to get topped up from Dalsu. And now Winter dropping down. This is going to halt the push.
Yeah, you don't want to be about half HP in the sight line of a Widowmaker. You don't even need a headshot at that point. Just charge it up and get the body shot.
Certainly, but Gus does go down, and he's going to be a hero that's going to take a while to get back into the fight. Early fights here on Havana. They take a lot of the time off, and Gus has swapped over to the Diva as a Kraken gets his head taken clean off by Nami.
Yeah, that's a solid shot from Nami. He gets another one. Dreamer's down. This is a little bit more like what we have been waiting for. I've noticed we've been spectating the Widows all day, and they haven't been hitting anything.
They've been quiet on camera this week, but Nami's coming alive a little bit there as Dreamer walks in front of his shield, and when you do that, you don't have the protection, and no matter what animal you are, your horse head is very big.
And Duboy, Gunther flying around on top of... Whoa, never mind, they're not flying anymore. Straight back onto the ground. Good work from Nyang to finish that off and gets Gunther too. So now it's time for Nami to step up and do much the same into the Holt combo. Well, puts Winter low, which allows Mini to finish it off. Good work there from Ground Zero to just stabilize.
It's an absolute scrap of a fight, but the fact that Dalsu is still alive, pumping out so much healing in the backline here means that there's an advantage for Ground Zero, even if they are down players.
And if not, then they can just slowly back away, wait for the reinforcements for Ground Zero. I am getting Nami does really put a bit of a spanner in the works. That was the one thing that was kind of keeping Sydney Drop Bears at bay.
Shoyo pushing past that shield to take out Mini is going to open up a really big opportunity here as that Orisa's shield has gone down. Then Anubis goes on to Juboy, but the barrage is not finding anything.
Oh, yes, it actually does. Well, it's a rocket actually that catches Fluoro, but the barrage opened up the opportunity. That's excellent work from Duboy. They're going for a long time.
And the Ground Zero defense lives for another day as they might be able to get the Orisa back in time, but Shoyo wants to push this cart a little bit further. It's being very cheeky here, but it looks like they won't be able to punish him for it as the boys aren't back in time.
Yeah, not a lot to work with for Ground Zero on this next fight. Gunther, Valkyrie, but really, what's that going to do? And if Nyang is able to continue getting the picks onto Nami,
Yeah, I hate saying his name, but you kind of have to when he's hitting shots like this. Winter takes out Gunther just after the res.
Oh, well, Nami's back in action. It's 2-1 for now, favouring the angle. Oh, that's a good shot. I want to see a little bit more of this from Nami, please. They're cracking down low now as well. Dream of the focus of fire, but Nami just having a bit of difficulty getting some damage through those shields. It's really Sniper's map at this point, and we're going to see the nano boost through onto Dewboy, but oh, it's too little too late. There's no one there to help him out, and even if he were to get this Rocket Barrage in action, I don't think it's going to turn things around.
No, and Yang has the sight line. He's completely uncontested here, so he's going to be able to clean up the fight, but that's still a big time off the clock. Ground Zero going into this next phase, it is kind of hard to play the Pharah too, so Dewboy has swapped off to the Brigitte, and the rest of his team swapping off too. They are going for this recontest.
Well, they're waiting perhaps for this barrage. I don't know, actually, never mind. Dewboy, as you say, has swapped. So that would have been like the only reason that they may have tried to invest something in here, but they're going to give it a crack anyway, and all it really results in doing is a gigantic feed onto Sydney Drop Bears.
And Kraken does commit the nano boost there, so that's one ultimate taken away, but it's not the most expensive ultimate. I respect the Ground Zero hustle for trying to get in there and getting another fight, getting more time off the clock, but at the end of the day, they feed a lot of HP over.
Yeah. If Dewboy still had the Rocket Barrage, I think you could probably justify that. You know, like if he comes out late, maybe catches a couple off guard.
Yes, certainly, but Ground Zero now, their combination is the Suck Diva Bomb. We saw Mind Freak pull this off as well yesterday. Can Ground Zero replicate? The Suck goes in, but there's no bomb to follow, so it has to be the next
Dragon
one.
Strike's going to be very scary for Ground Zero.
Ooh, he's lining it up. He sees a lot of feet there.
I want to see him throw it out, but he's just waiting for the moment now, looking to split those players, and in the end, probably not as devastating as it could have been. Winter, however, does drop low, instantly healed back on up, and now it's a bit of a stalemate.
This Gus Bomb has to be big. It's the only thing left in the fight, really. He throws it out, but Mini's gone down, and it's done to Adam. He's landed on the top rope. You can't be having that.
Yeah, it's really difficult to try and get the self-destruct working on a point like this. Gus has got himself the nano boost, however, but it's not really working too well in the favour of Ground Zero at the moment. He's just not being able to get the damage out that he needs. Nami catches the head of Winter, however, and then we are back to 5v5. Sydney Drop Bears trying to work the angles. They're just not quite being able to get the clean fight win that they need here to be able to push it over.
Close it out, but it looks like he's going to be able to hold on to it. Mini takes out Shoyo, Flura responds onto Mini. This fight's going back and forth, but finally the Sydney Drop Bears are able to get a little bit more traction into it.
Where is this Dragon Strike going to be thrown in? Perhaps to split the team apart. That's exactly what it is going to do. Nyang with an EMP. It's probably not the right time for it, unfortunately, because there's no one that can capitalize as a result of the Dragon Strike. Shoyo pushing forward now with the rally. The Gunther's flying around in the air. He's going to be okay. Dalsu coming up on the nano boost, and that is going to be invested. It's on actually Dewboy. So counteracting what Shoyo was able to do with the rally is going to be the exact same thing for Ground Zero as the rally for them starts to push on forward. Mini here with the Primal Rage is going to be a very large problem to deal with, and what a great juggle. Fluro goes down. There's not really going to be much left to say about this one for Winter.
No, and after what seemed like an eternity, finally the fight's evened out. I thought the Drop Bears would have enough firepower there to get through, but they just couldn't finish off these targets. Now Dreamer swaps over to the Reinhardt. Yang has the EMP, but he's gone down pretty late. Winter now playing the Zarya. This is a hero that we haven't seen him on that much, actually.
Well, here's a chance for Ground Zero to almost assure them a map win. If you hold here, that is a very achievable total. But what do they have to hold with? Dragon Strike? It's not really a consistent ultimate for getting value. Self-destruct the same.
Gus needs to answer with this self-destruct first, this EMP.
He needs to sleep as well.
Big. He needs to sleep. This means that they'll have to wait a little bit before committing, but Gus is taking out a Kraken somehow.
Dragon Strike's good. It's going to split the players apart. However, Dreamer is at least there with Fluro. So, get helped out by those speed boosts. The self-destruct is going to break the shield, but an EMP to answer from Nang. And he pushes forward with 6 players getting hacked. We're still not seeing any picks coming out for Sydney Drop Bears. I'm not sure what has happened, but the follow-up was not there for the EMP. They're all off the cart. And that final fight was, I will say, a little anticlimactic.
Just before the EMP comes out from Yang, a biotic grenade goes onto the side of the Sydney Drop Bears from Dalsu, and that really cuts out all the aggression. So another well-timed biotic grenade from Dalsu kind of saves his team there, but wow, what a hold from Ground Zero Gaming. They managed to first take so much time off the clock on the first point, and then spew into the second point and get the fight win eventually. They just didn't have the damage to close out the fights on the Sydney Drop Bears. This series is alive, but only barely. Sydney Drop Bears are going to have a mammoth task to hold this.
But they need to.
They certainly do, as we go into Ben Green's cellar.
That says no regrets.
Have you got one of those tattoos?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Well, yeah, that's why I'm asking, mate.
I do not.
Oh, alright.
I definitely have many regrets in my life.
Yeah, can't say I do. I've lived life to its fullest.
I'm definitely 100% confident that you have not.
Yeah, you called me bluff on that one.
Yeah.
Well played.
Oh,
As we see, Drop Bears come out with their own bunker composition on defense. Yang on that Widow. Probably got the best of Nami on the first point, but Nami did have some big impact frags himself. Just didn't really find Yang too much. Mini on the Widow, so Nami's probably a bit upset right now. These Widow's been picked. Probably spewing as the lights are still on.
Yeah, we complained about that like 3 weeks ago.
Jeff, get onto it,
To
mate.
be fair, did you really expect anything to happen? Always takes these kinds of things a while
Well,
to...
I sent the message via courier pigeon to the States, and I don't reckon he got over the ocean, the poor little bugger.
Probably not. Caught in the storm.
Yeah,
Eaten
can
by
happen
an
to the best of
albatross.
us.
Just having some fun surfing around on the roof.
We've seen a lot of Pharahs play this position too. It's quite a hard position to dislodge.
It's an
because
awful position to dislodge. Like, where are you getting an angle to even shoot up there?
You have to get some offensive pressure out on the enemy team to get the room to get on the position. But while you're trying to get that offensive pressure, you're getting shot by a rocket lady.
Well, speaking of offensive pressure, it's definitely coming out for Ground Zero. Shoyo just, I don't know, caught on his own. What is going on here for Sydney Drop Bears on the defense? I'm not so sure. They're so split up, but it seems to be working.
Ground Zero running like a pack, and they're getting hit by this rocket splash damage, but they're still surviving. Winter now finally gets a 3K as hit the sleep on him, but will it be enough to take him out? It looks like he's pretty fine right now.
Ground Zero is still pushing the cart though. It's a little bit of a crazy fight, that one. Chaotic indeed.
This is an absolute mess. As a Nano Boost comes out onto Mini, they're trying to get the space now. Shoyu will eventually drop on the cart. And that will mean a push comes out. Someone's woken up Mini, in fact. No more snoring for him.
Unfortunate.
Certainly is. Nami now closing in on this EMP, but Yang has the wall, so that can cut down this EMP's effectiveness. But he pops it early. There's no fight really going on. I guess he's looking for that Sombra. Sombra will be in a defensive position right now, just waiting for that to expire.
Gust is going to have to be marking Winter quite a bit in this fight. But the barrage is online.
And it's going to be damage boosted by the drum too, you would imagine, so that's going to be very potent.
Can that umbrella come up in time? EMP goes across, doesn't actually hit Winter, but it's looking okay for Ground Zero. They do get the kill onto Shoyo. The Bongo goes down as well, which is not the greatest of prizes, but it certainly is still a prize. Rage starting to fade away now for Mini, and there's a whole lot of picks coming across for Ground Zero, yet they are still continuing to push the payload forward. We're waiting for that explosion from Sydney Drop Bears, in particular the Rocket Barrage. Winter under pressure here. Duboy puts his shield up, and Gus does get the defense matrix up in time. Well done on that department. It's a one-for-one trade when all things are considered, but Ground Zero are trying to find some more inroads into this fight, and they may well be able to do that. Shoyo out on his own. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but Sydney Drop Bears have lost another player.
Another sleep on Mini. Gunther's beat drop turns the aggression there. He manages to push forward. Now the drum comes down, but they don't get on the point. It's a captured point.
This is really bad now for Sydney Drop Bears. It means that their defense on point B, self-destruct is going to go in as well. Looks like Gus doesn't particularly want to slow down the momentum here at all, which is fair enough. Sydney Drop Bears are not going to be able to reset. They're not going to be able to get a good solid defense until probably the final defense.
It certainly is. It's going to be a situation where they're going to be set up for one fight pretty much, and they're going to have to win that fight every single time for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Ground Zero, they do have ults coming up too. The Nami Sombra is charging that EMP, and these nano boosts from Dalsu have been very effective, especially on Mini diving in. There's a very vulnerable team comp on the side of Sydney Drop Bears. How are they going to go about this? Dalsu in a position very far back, ready to get that nano boost on anyone who gets hacked.
Oh, very close there. Shoyo's got rally across though, so he should be fairly okay, healing himself up with all that armor. And he does drop to the Storm Arrows of Winter, so that should be a pretty quick early retreat.
These snipers on the high ground are going to be pretty difficult to dislodge now that I reassess. It's going to be heavy positioning based, but Yang looks like he's going all the way back to swap actually. This is quite interesting because it's going to take him a while to get back. No Lucio to ferry him either. If Barons are quick on this, they could get a 5v6 advantage. What's his hero choice? It is the Sombra. Winter now with this Dragon Strike is going to have to be key. He has the damage boost ultimates in the Valkyrie and a Kraken's nano boost. Something's got to give here though. Nami with the Sombra EMP.
Trying to get them off the high ground. The dive does come in from Mini and Gus. That's across onto Gus at the very least. Nano boost from both sides as well. So everything's starting to be thrown in. That's a very nice sleep onto Winter, who will then be pounced upon and does at least get the Dragon Strike across. Mini not having a bar of it. It's going to drop the Primal Rage down, but his team has been utterly obliterated in the meanwhile. Needs to get back there and help him out. Gunther, he's found Shoyo and Mini as well with the Primal Rage. Is starting to get some work done. 9 down, the focus on 5, but the EMP comes back across on Ground Zero. 5 of them are hacked up. I don't know that it's going to be enough though to keep this one alive for Sydney Drop Bears. Their numbers are depleting, their health is depleting, and they're trying to trickle back onto this point with the likes of Doomfist and Tracer.
Oh, Winter's
just kind of
turning
falling
this.
apart. Winter though comes up almost hero mode. It's just not quite enough again, Smash. I've said it so many times, but for City Drop Bears, that has been the case. So close, yet so far every single time. But once again, it looks to be another loss for the Sydney Drop Bears. And for Ground Zero, more than likely a 3-1 victory. Gunther uncontested. Winter's back. He's going to need to do it again. He's all on his own. Focused down by Ground Zero. And they're still not quite being able to cap it out. Finally, we hear the music ring out and Ground Zero do confirm the 3-1 here on Havana. What a series that was though. It was I don't know what to say about that one. The first half took over an hour almost. Second half's taken less than 30 minutes. Even that final fight, it was just so backwards and forwards for so long. We had quite a few of them.
It certainly was.
Crazy.
It was a really hard series to call, actually, because it was so back and forth. That Hollywood was so dominant by the side of Sydney Drop Bears. They looked to have everything figured out. They looked to figure them out on the side of Ground Zero, but eventually they come back and their attack just wasn't clean enough. That big, long stall fight on that second phase, I think, was the key there. They just weren't able to clean up the kills and get the cart moving in the right direction, and that led to a poor offense, and with poor offense comes poor defense.
Pretty big sigh of relief coming out from Ground Zero. Few worrisome moments for them this series, but even still a 3-1, you'd be pretty happy with that. Puts them quite a bit up on the scoreboard, given their vicinity with Sydney Drop Bears. Next week they're facing Legacy, which you would look to be a winnable game for Ground Zero, that's for sure. But even still an important one.
This is very important. They've now defeated both of the grand finalists from last season, actually, Ground Zero. So they're a bit of Giant Slayers. Yeah. Very good highlights here from Winter. I thought he could maybe turn it with that, but
You're getting a bit excited, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, I've seen it happen to me many times in matchmaking where a Doomfist comes flying out of the spawn door and kills 4 of your mates, and then you're all sad, and your SR is in the bin.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's new, really, at that point? Not in the bin, though, is Ground Zero.
This sets up an interesting week next week, because
it really
Legacy
does.
are really just chomping at the bit to get behind Sydney Drop Bears, aren't they?
Well, when you consider order, Ground Zero, Sydney Drop Bears were all on the same amount of match wins and losses. Legacy is potentially, if they win this series coming, 1 match win behind those 3. We still have a really big tie within the sort of 3 to 6th area of the standings, which is obviously for playoff seeding at that point.
Yeah,
And
it certainly is a bit messy in that standings, isn't it?
you just, throw everything out and see what happens. Like, it's throw the balls in the air and wherever things land, that's who's facing who. Really, at that point, it feels like.
Certainly does, but it's disappointing for Sydney Drop Bears. They're looking like they were building momentum coming into the back end of the season, but it's kind of been halted now.
And the worst part for Sydney Drop Bears is next week they face Warriors. So
That is a tall task.
if you're going to go into Warriors in your final week as an underdog, you would at least want to do it with some momentum, which they now cannot do.
Certainly.
Lots to go back and look at, though, on that Ground Zero series. I suppose they say you learn more from your losses than you do from your wins.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to that Temple of Anubis too. Nami getting that massive EMP to cancel the beat drop of Fluoro and then stop a Kraken from transcending. That's going to turn the whole series. We could have been going into Havana with a 2-1 for Ground Zero. For Sydney Drop Bears, sorry.
If Sydney Drop Bears... Yeah, I suppose you're right. And then we would be onto Ilios. Even then, it might have been a 3-1 or something like that for Sydney Drop Bears. If they get the momentum across, they win Hollywood as well pretty comfortably. Havana's maybe one that they can clean up pretty easily.
That's been the story of this season so far, though. Everything has been so close, so tight, so many 3-2s, so many unexpected results, and I wouldn't have expected any less coming into this week to find at least a few close series in there. 2 4-0s yesterday, which was pretty unexpected to say the least. And now today we're getting the close ones.
Well, we have at least had one close one. Even though it's a 3-1, it still kind of feels pretty close. Atletico coming up next against Legacy.
That is going to be a very close game, I think. Legacy have been on the up and Atletico have been on the down, but they still have some really star players. D-Field, Wuvo, Quad J, very, very talented players, and I don't expect them to stay quiet for very long.
Yeah, neither do I. Well, I've got a lot of thinking to do before we do get into this next match, Smash. I mean, I really am enjoying the way that this season has kind of shaped up, obviously coming from last season, going through things looking pretty close toward the end of the season, and now this season, like literally anything can happen. I mean, the standings are going to be absolutely crazy at the end of this week.
Certainly have. The entertainment value for this season has gone up, skyrocketing, not just because I'm on the broadcast instead of Ben Green, but because of the way these teams are playing, the way the metas have evolved. They've really been moving around, shifting around, and anything could happen going into playoffs, especially with that 2-2-2 lock coming in. I don't know how to call it.
All right, it's the moment we've all been waiting for, Smash. It's the Macca's player of the game. Ground Zero and Sydney Drop Bears. The Macca's player of the game is going to go the way of Dubois on Farah.
Yeah, he had some pretty impactful hero picks here. Nami with this EMP as well coming through. It's so big. Winter getting a rocket barrage, constantly causing pressure. And at the start, I highlighted Winter's Farah as like a key pick, and he started off the series really well, but he just finished it out pretty poorly.
Was Winter on the Farah, by the way?
It was Winter on the Farah. And he is a good, talented Farah player, and I expect to see him in the World Cup trials, basically, actually, because he's a good young talent.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting concept. You know, we haven't really talked too much about that, but you look back at last year's World Cup team and you say, well, there's probably a few roles that can be swapped around there this season. Obviously, CKM's not playing at the moment.
Oh, he's holidaying in Croatia, actually.
That's probably a slot that's up for grabs. A Kraken, I think, would be another one that you'd be looking at and saying, well, he's not the clear choice this season.
No, and I mean, Custer has pulled out because he's got his brother's wedding, so he can't attend.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that either.
No, so he's not going to be in the squad this year. So it is going to be a more, I think Trill is going to be the captain and leader of the squad this year, which is a very experienced player from the Dallas Fuel. So I'm still happy with him as the captain.
Yeah, sure.
I think Custer's going to be working with the team, but he's not going to be playing for the team. So you've got that main support role up for grabs. You've got that flex support role that's in the air. I mean, Jordation, Dalsu, Kraken,
Tung.
any of these. Tung, yeah, that role is pretty
from New
open.
Zealand?
No, Tung is from Perth, actually.
Okay.
Good bloke, Tung. And then you've got that flex DPS spot as well that's pretty open. Punk will be 18 in time, so he will be on the squad.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, that is a discussion perhaps for greater minds than ours, Smash. We're going to head to a quick break. One more series, though, coming up after this.